Hello guys, and welcome to part 2 of today's tutorials. Okay, so the previous class I taught about how to create a database, and then what we discussed was actually my SQL interface, RDBMS, and my SQL workbench. Okay, so we have our database already created, so I will simply activate by using my database. Okay, so it's activated db1. Okay, if you were in my previous class, if you follow the previous class, this is the database we created, and we will now show our tables. Okay, so we found out that we have no tables in our database. Okay, so what do we do? All right, so what we will do now is I will simply comment since we have no tables in our DB. So I'll use for short I will use DB as database. In our DB we create a table. Okay, so today's class is basically how to create and insert into tables, how to create table in my SQL and how to insert values into that table. Okay, so to create a table in my SQL, we use the create table statement followed by the structure of the table, and then we insert our values. Okay, so first we'll start by the create table followed by the table name and then the structure of the table. Okay, so I will use create. We talked about create in the last class. I will say create table. What is the name of the table we want to create? I will say good, and then I will structure the table how we want the table to be structured. Okay, so for every table there are what we call fields and column headers. Okay, so we'll structure the table the way we want the table to appear. Okay, so I will quickly indent. For the first field, we would want in SQL or in my SQL, columns are called fields and rows are called records. Okay, so permit my English if I use those of us who are familiar with Excel, Power BI. I will intertwine between columns and field, rows and record. Okay, so for my first field, I will say ID. We want our first column rather to be ID, and then we'll assign the data type to be integer. I will add my comma, which signify my delimiter. I will say name, and then we'll add a data type varchar, variable character. This is used to hold maximum length of character specified by size. Okay, so I will say 20, and then I will go further. So I will say country. I will use varchar again. I will say 20. Okay, so I will say what do I have again? I will say age. Age, we have values for age, so we use int, and I will say gender. Now for gender we want to use female, male and female, so we use varchar, and then we'll add our constraint to be 10, and then we'll close our bracket and we'll terminate. Okay, so I will quickly execute, and I'll come over here and show tables in my database. Okay, so all right, so I have my table good. Okay, so I will quickly describe the structure of my table. I will say describe good, and I will execute. Okay, so I have the structure in which my table was being created. Okay, so the describe keyword actually describes the structure of a particular table. Okay, so I will now show all items. I will use a select shift 8 asterisk from good, which is our table name. Okay, so here we have our table all created and set up, but we have an issue here. There are no values inside our tables. There are no values inside our tables. Okay, so this syntax select asterisk from good simply means show all items. Okay, so asterisk in my SQL simply means all. Show all items from the table name. Okay, so we quickly comment. We'll say, so we'll repeat, since we have no values in our table, we add values. Okay, so we want to add values in our table. Okay, so we have ID, name, country, age, gender. So these are just the fields. There are no records inside the field. So we want to add records inside the field. Okay, so to add records or to add values or items inside a created table in MySQL, we use the insert into statement. We use the insert into statement. Insert is used to add values into tables. Okay, so I will say insert into, where are we inserting into? We are inserting into our table. What's our table name? Good. All right. And then we'll structure the table the way we created our table. We'll have name. Oh, we have name. We have country. We have age, and we have gender. We have gender. Okay, and then we'll close our brackets, and then we'll start inserting the values. Okay, so what do we want to insert into this table? We say values. Okay, so I will type values. I'll put my cursor up to this point. I will say number 1, because we want to have the first entry, the first row to be number 1, and then I'll add my quotes. That's to signify or to make SQL understand that I want to start adding string in my tables. Okay, so the quotes, the open and close quotes simply signify you're telling my SQL that whatever I have inside that quote, see it as a string, recognize it as a string. Okay, so I will say name should be Omar. I will add my delimiter. Country, Omar is USA. All right, I will add my delimiter. Omar's age, I will say 54. Okay, for values in my SQL, we do not add quotes to values because they are values. Okay, so Omar's age, Omar's gender is, let's say, female. Sorry about that. Female. Female. Okay, so sorry about that. Female. I will close and I would execute. All right. So I will go to the next one. Insert into good. Okay, so I'll structure the table once again. ID, name, country, age, and gender. Okay, so I will add values. Okay, so I'll quickly do same thing. 2, comma, I'll add Ank. I will add Italy. I will add 32. I would say mail. Alright. Okay, so I will execute. Okay, so we'll do for this third entry. We'll say insert into good. Okay, we have it here already. And then we'll structure. We'll say ID. We'll say name. We'll say country, age, and we'll say gender. Alright. And then we add our values. Okay, so we say we have 3. We'll say Joel. I'll add my quotes. Okay, so Joel, country, let's say Ghana. Age 76. Gender male. Okay, so we can just come here, we copy everything, Ctrl C, come here, Ctrl V, we'll just change this to 4, and we'll say Mary. So we'll say Nigeria. Okay, so we'll say age 43, and we say female. Okay, so we have female. So for the last one we say 5. We'll say Nike. We'll say UK. 16, and we have male. Okay, so we are done inserting values into our tables. Okay, so we have 2 options to execute. We can execute one after the other. And we can also highlight everything and execute from the first execution portion. So I can highlight everything and I will execute from this first execution button. I can also decide to execute one after the other. Okay, so I would highlight everything and I'll execute from this first button. Okay, so execution successful. I will quickly show my tables from good. Alright, so I will quickly execute. Alright, okay, so we have our table, 5 entries. Alright, so we have Omar, Ank, Joe, Mary, and Nike. USA, Italy, Ghana, Nigeria, and UK. Alright, so this is how to create a table and insert values inside our table. Alright, so thank you for watching and thank you for staying connected. Feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, like, share, and comment. Okay, so